Welcome to a day in Grammy's life. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. So I have a few little odds and ends that I need to do today. That's really not a video in itself, so we're just going to do it all today. So for starters, I want to make some sourdough tortillas. This is a recipe from Farmhouse on Boone. Lisa Bass, thank you very much for sharing this recipe and allowing me to share this recipe with my family. You're going to see a video this Saturday where we use part of a whole cut up chicken. The other half of that chicken is going to be next week's video on what we eat in a week. But I need tortillas to go with that. It takes 12 to 24 hours for the dough to ferment. So we're starting now, so then tomorrow we can make tortillas and we can have our dinner. So in this stand mixer bowl, we need 1 cup of sourdough starter. It could either be active or discard. This is active. I fed it this morning and it's now here. It did rise up and then it started to fall. So it's still active. 1 cup. We need 3/4 cups of water. A 1/4 cup of olive oil. And 3 cups of all-purpose flour. 1½ teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to knead it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Again, the volume is not enough to do anything, so we're going to do it by hand. We want to make sure we incorporate all these little bits and pieces into our dough to get it into a nice uniform ball. All right, I think we are good. I'm going to drizzle some olive oil in our mixing bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap, and we're just going to let this sit here anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. 12 hours is going to be too early in the morning, so I'm going to do this tomorrow morning. Until then, it's just going to sit there. The next thing we're going to do is make some more pork sausage. We did this a couple months ago, and I think I have 2 8-ounce packs left in the freezer. So I went ahead and took out a pork shoulder. This is called a moist and tender pork fresh picnic. I know it said use pork butt, but to me they're interchangeable. This has been sitting in my freezer for quite some time, and I just need to get them out and do something with them. It's still a little frozen on the bottom, but I think we can deal with that. So first thing I'm going to do is sharpen my knife. And let's go ahead and start cutting this up. Now, I do not want any of the skin, and we're going to limit some of the fat. So I'm cutting them about anywhere from 1 inch to a 2-inch cube. This one does have a bone in it. Ideally, I would rather have it without a bone, but this is what we had in our freezer. This is what we're using. All right, let me get this all cut up, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to move on to the next step. So I got as much meat as I can off of this bone, so I'm going to go ahead and roast this. I just put enough water in this pan just to cover the bottom. I'm going to add some salt and some pepper, a bay leaf. Cover it with aluminum foil. I have the oven preheated to 300 degrees. Just going to roast it for about an hour or two. That way we get some delicious pork broth, and we can save that bone to make additional pork broth. This is all the skin and fat I'm not going to use. But in order for us to make our spice blend, we have to know how many pounds we have. All right, so right there is 5 pounds. 6 pounds and 4 ounces. I had to do some math. So for every pound of pork, we need a half a teaspoon of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons, and a teaspoon. We need 1 teaspoon of sage, but I also wrote a little notation that says add more next time. So I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoon of sage times 6 1/4. That's 9 1/2. Pepper, we need a half a teaspoon. So I have 3 teaspoons. And then it says cayenne pepper or red pepper flakes. And it says 1/8 of a teaspoon, which is 0.12 times 625. So 3/4 of a teaspoon of peppers. So the salt, we need 1.5% of salt to weight of pork in grams. So if our pork weighs 2,834.95, 2,834.95 times 0.015, that's 42.52 grams of salt. And this time I decided I wanted to add fennel seeds to mine. So we're going to add a couple tablespoons of fennel seed. So come in a little closer and let's go ahead and make our spice blend. So sage, we need 9 1/2 teaspoons. Brown sugar, we need 3 1/2 tablespoons. Black pepper, we need 3/4 of a teaspoon, a half, and a quarter. Oh, I said 3 teaspoons of pepper. I did that backwards. So we got a half and a quarter. 1, 2, 3. 3 teaspoons of pepper, 3/4 of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And I said I want to add some fennel. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons. And I'm guessing on that. And the salt in grams, we need to do 42. 42. Let's get all of our dry ingredients mixed up. Oh, family, that smells so good. Make sure we don't have no clumps of brown sugar. All right, here's our meat that has been cubed. Make sure everything is well coated with that spice blend. Okay, let me wash my hands. So I have a baking sheet with parchment paper. Try to spread that out into a single layer. Because I'm going to have to double it up just a bit. I'm going to put this in the freezer just like this for about 2 hours, just so they're frozen just a little firm, not hard as a rock, but just enough that when we put it through the meat grinder, it won't gum up. So in the freezer for a couple hours. Let me get all the dishes washed and dried and put away. So we have the ham bone in the oven roasting. We have the sourdough tortillas right here doing its bulk fermentation. We have the sausage cut up into cubes and seasoned in the freezer. We're going to wash the dishes. We got one more project we want to do before we grind up that sausage. The next project we're going to do is make some hot sauce. So this is just a salt water brine. I forgot to bring you along when I made this, but these are peppers that we grew ourselves, and as they were being ripened, oh my goodness. I was just taking them, slicing them, and added to this brine. And it smells hot. It's been fermenting for about 5 months. I do want to strain it. I want to get all the bits and pieces. And I left seeds. The only thing I removed was the stems. Habaneros, jalapenos, and Tabascos. So it's a little bit of everything. So I'm going to put them in the food processor. And I have a very small food processor, so we're going to have to do this in batches. But that's okay. Then I'm going to dump them in this bowl. And repeat the process until all the peppers have been ground up. Whew, that is very potent. All right, so that is our pepper mush. I'm going to add some of this salt or brine. And now I'm just going to take the stick blender and blend everything together. Could I have done that without the food processor? Probably. Didn't think this through. And now we have hot sauce. So I have a fine mesh strainer, and I'm going to strain it through a funnel. I want to taste it. Oh, family. That is hot. OMG. That is crazy hot. And the leftover pulp, I'm just going to cover this and stick it in the refrigerator. And I think later this week, I'm going to dehydrate this in the oven, 200 degrees until it's dry. And then I'm going to turn this into hot pepper flakes. That's going to be good. So this is going to go into the refrigerator until I need some super hot sauce. So this is the gallon of milk I picked up a couple days ago, and I haven't gotten around to separating the heavy cream. It's been sitting in the refrigerator. So I just take a 1/4 cup measuring cup and just slightly skim the top. Sometimes I do get a little bit of milk in the heavy cream, but that's okay. The heavy cream is not as thick as it has been in the past. But it is winter milk. And winter milk is different than summer milk. Not even a whole pint. But that's okay. Every little bit counts. And I think later this week I'm going to make mozzarella because I have this gallon of milk plus I have a little bit over a pint left over from last time. And whenever we have extra milk, we'll turn that into mozzarella and ricotta. And I want to make some raviolis, just plain regular cheese raviolis, so I can have those in the freezer. So we'll have use for the mozzarella and the ricotta. All right, so let me get caught up on some dishes. We still have the pork in the freezer doing its 2-hour freeze. We have that bone in the oven roasting. The tortillas are sitting here to ferment. Get the dishes washed, put the clean dishes away, and we'll be closer to grinding up that pork. So the last time we made sausage, we used the large hole for the grinder. And it comes with a small one, but I think I'm going to use the middle size. So we have the hopper chute. We need to put in the auger. The blade. The feeding tube. Tighten everything down. The sun's setting so it gets dark in this corner. But now we need to put our attachment to the KitchenAid. Tighten that up so it doesn't move. And we have the hopper plate. It'll come down here, feed through, and it'll go into a bowl. And now we just have to wait for that sausage to firm up in the freezer. And this is the hopper feeder to get the meat going down in there. Ah, the sourdough tortilla smells so good. I need to check on that bone in the oven. It has been in there for about an hour and a half. The meat has been in the freezer for about an hour. It's coming along, family. Just coming along. And I'm planning on freezing this sausage just like the last batch in 8-ounce increments. So we're going to put that in a pint-sized freezer bags. Then we'll put all those freezer bags in a gallon-sized freezer bag and put that in the freezer. So we're at a standstill, waiting on that meat. So it's been 2 hours. We took the meat out of the freezer, and it's firm, but not frozen solid. We want it to be a little pliable. And then we're just going to feed it into the chute. Let it come out to the desired thickness we want. So we're putting a little force, slowly feeding it in there, pushing down. And you'll start seeing it coming out right here. I think I do like the medium grind holes better than the big one. Seems like to be the perfect consistency of the sausage I like. So we're just going to go through and grind everything into this bowl. Perfect. I'm showing you how frost is built on it. That's how cold our meat was. So now we're going to go ahead and take it apart. So I'm removing all the pieces I forgot. So we're going to take the lock nut off, remove the medium hole chute, make sure we get all the goodness off of here, and now the blade, and you'll see some fatty stuff attached to that. We don't want that, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that away. I'm going to remove the auger, and inside I notice there's some more meat. I want to go ahead and fish that out with my fingers. Don't want to waste anything. And then once we get everything out, we'll go ahead and give that a good wash. And now we're going to massage it, smush it in between our fingers for a good 5 minutes or so. And it is cold. Whew. The reason we're doing this is we're making sure two things. We're mixing the spices in with all the meat, plus we're breaking that meat down even further and distributing the fat amongst the protein or the meat part. Don't skip on this step. I know it is torture and cold, but don't skip this step. I have to switch hands because one hand gets too cold. All right, I think that is good. Let me wash my hands really well. So we started out with 6 pounds, 4 ounces. So that's 12 portions with 4 ounces divided among 12. So I have the kitchen scale with plastic on it. Tear it out to 0. And we're just going to weigh out 8 ounces. And portion them out. I'll bring you right back when I get them all divided. And we'll move on to packaging these. I'm going to do this batch a little different. Last time I put them in pint-sized freezer bags, but this time I want to put them in parchment paper. I do want to make as best of a square as I can. Oh, I can smell that fennel. Smells so good. And this will go into the freezer until we need to make something with sausage, or breakfast sandwiches, or sausage and biscuits, or just plain sausage with eggs. So in the freezer, these will go. I took that pork bone out of the oven. I'm gonna let it cool off a bit, strain the juice in here, put everything in a Ziploc bag. Might put the juice, the pork water, in a mason jar, and I'll stick that in the freezer. When we get enough bones, we'll make some pork stock. So I want to say thank you for hanging out with me in the kitchen today. We made some breakfast sausage, got those ready for the freezer. We made some hot sauce, and boy, this is hot. I don't know if I can eat this. The pulp of the peppers, I'm gonna put on a baking sheet, put in the oven, and just let it slowly dehydrate at 200 degrees for a couple hours. We made the dough for the sourdough tortillas. We'll deal with this tomorrow. You will see that video next week of what we eat in a week. We separated some heavy cream from some milk that we had in the refrigerator. We have that in the freezer. Is that all we did? That's all we did. We did a lot, but that's all we did. So I hope you enjoy videos like this, what I do to keep busy, to make sure there's food that we could put on the table for my little family, the husband and myself, and give you inspiration to do the same thing for your family. Doesn't matter the size. It could be just you and your spouse, a bunch of kids, grandkids, doesn't matter. Just get in your kitchen, do a little bit at a time, and feed your family a real, healthy, nutrient-dense meal. So if you don't mind, leave a comment below and let me know what you did today to prepare yourself to have meals on your table. Did you go to the grocery store? Did you make some bread? What did you do today? Let me know. I appreciate it. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family. Alrighty. I don't know what I'm going to do with this hot sauce.